he needs from those plants. Here in the Mojave Desert, there's not a lot of water unless you're down around the Colorado River or Lake Mead. So these animals have to get the majority of their water from the food that they eat, whether it's plants, as in the case of the chuckwalla, or the rodents in the case of the Gila monster. Now, if they find water, they will certainly drink it. But we didn't have much rain this year, did we? So if you're waiting for the rain to get you some water, you could be in a lot of trouble real quick. This is our second largest lizard. Only the Gila monster is bigger. This is a leopard lizard, so named because of the spots, and also because, unlike the chuckwalla, this one is all predator. This is a lizard that will basically eat anything it can catch and swallow. Notice it's rather smooth, unlike the chuck and the Gila monster, a little bit smoother. Now this is a very common lizard here in the Mojave. Boy, he's really just starting to shed. Get some of that loose skin off of him, actually off of her. This is a female. Now this one will eat virtually anything it can catch and swallow, but what it really seems to like most is flying insects. Now if you notice these long hind legs, this is a lizard that is built for speed because it has to chase its quarry down. And when it's walking, it will walk on all four legs, but when it starts running, it gets up and it runs on its hind legs and uses its tail for balance. And it can run quite fast for short distances. It is not unusual to see one of these animals racing after like a flying grasshopper or something, and it'll jump into the air and snap it right out of the air. In the morning when it wakes up, it will climb on top of a bush so it can warm up and begin its hunt. Then once its body is warmed up, it will drop down onto the ground and start looking for something to eat. It has very good eyesight. As it is walking along, it's looking for motion, movement of an insect, or if it scares a grasshopper or something out, and if it can catch it, it will go after it and grab a hold of it. Now these are quite capable of biting, and biting very hard, but this one again has been in captivity for a number of years, and so it doesn't see much of a threat. This is one of our larger predatory lizards, and other than the insects, it will also eat other lizards, small snakes, and the bigger leopard lizards can eat even newborn mice.
How fast can it move?
Well, let's put it this way. It can probably run faster than you can for a short distance, but it can't keep it up for very long. But when it's running, it's going to be running, and then it's going to change direction and try to hide from you. So eventually you could probably outrun it, but I think you'd be pretty tired by the time you finally caught up with it.
How often does it shed its skin?
As a rule, probably 2 or 3 times a year. Now, a younger lizard that's growing faster will shed more often. With these reptiles, what happens is when their old skin becomes too small, or it's worn out from scraping against rocks and that sort of thing, a new skin starts to grow in underneath the old one, and when the new one is ready, then the old one comes loose and they can rub it off in patches. Now with snakes, of course, they can just crawl out of it all in one piece, but with the legs and all the different shape of the lizard's body, it makes it a little bit tougher for a lizard to do it, so it comes off in patches.
Is there anything special about this lizard?
This leopard lizard is unusual because the females leopard lizards are bigger than the males. When both are adult, the females are a little bit bigger than the males. Now, because this can be a cannibalistic lizard, it will eat other leopard lizards, it can be kind of frightening for a male lizard during the mating season to approach the female, because she may just be hungry and he may wind up being lunch. So what happens during the breeding season is the leopard lizards will develop bright red or orange spots on their body and tail. And what we think is happening here is that this is a signal to the male that it's safe to approach. Now you see on the side of the head here, what do you think those are?
Ears?
Ears. So one of the easy ways to tell lizards from snakes is snakes don't have external ears. Lizards do. Leopards are found across the Mojave, the Sonoran deserts, and I think that there are some even over in the Chihuahuan desert. This is the most commonly seen snake in the Mojave Desert, and one of the fastest. This is the red racer or coach whip. Called red racer because it's sort of reddish and very fast, and coach whip because it's long and slender like those old buggy whips that they used to snap over the horses. Now the reason that this is the most commonly seen snake in this part of the country is because it's one of the few snakes that is out during the daytime. Most snakes are more active at night, but this one, because it eats a lot of lizards, is very active during the daytime. In fact, when night comes, this guy goes undercover. So this is the one you're most likely to run into because this is a snake that's out and active when we're mostly out and active. Now I want you to take a real good look at the head on this fellow. And you notice that the eyes are very, very large. It's because this one relies to a great extent on its vision to find prey. What it does is it moves along the desert floor and it's looking for motion. Now sometimes as it's crawling, it will just hold its head up. It'll stop, hold its head up, and it will scan. And what it's doing is it's looking for something that's moving. Lizards, small rodents, something like that, and then it will start to sneak up on it. And if it can get close enough, it will grab it with its jaws and hold it until the animal is dead, and then it will swallow it. Now this one has to rely on mostly its speed to catch prey. Now even though it's sort of wrapping its tail around me, this is not a true constrictor. So it doesn't wrap around its prey and squeeze it and suffocate it the way another snake that we're going to look at shortly does. So this one has to rely on its speed and its ability to grab and just hold on to the lizards or small rodents that it eats. Occasionally it will use a coil of its body to hold the animal down while it's working its head around to get a good grip on what it's trying to eat. And then it just simply swallows it. Now, if you are out in the desert and you see one of these and you try to pick it up, I will guarantee you, John, it is going to bite you. These are tenaciously defensive. When you're grabbing that snake, he's thinking, I'm about to be lunch. He doesn't want to be lunch. And if he can't just get away from you using his speed, then he will resort to method number 2, which is to bite. So if you grab a hold of one of these in the wild, be prepared to be bitten. But it's not venomous. The teeth will draw a little bit of blood. Now again, this one has been in captivity for a number of years and it's lost its fear of people, so it doesn't feel the need to bite.
How fast can it move?
Well, it's kind of like the leopard lizard. For short distances, it can move quite quickly, but it cannot maintain that speed for very long, and usually what happens is when this snake sees you coming and takes off, it is going to find some place where it can get under cover, like into a pack rat nest or a crevice in the rock or something, or even occasionally up a tree, and hopefully you won't see where it is and you'll walk by. These are excellent climbers. Not unusual to have these things up in trees, because another thing that they like to eat is young birds. So, you see that tongue flicking?
Yeah.
You understand what's going on with that tongue?
He's tasting the air.
He's tasting the air. The other thing that tongue is doing is picking up the vibration of sound